Hey everyone, and welcome to the new interview series from Grace and Love Inc. called Make an Impact. We are highlighting people that are making a real positive difference in the lives of others and living life on mission every day. So we just want to honor them and then also hope to inspire you to go out there and do the same. My guest today is my own personal role model and just true example of a Christian mentor in my life. He's a leader in the truest sense of the word, not only in his profession, day by day, leading a large organization for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities to help them live their best lives, but also within the four walls of the church. He's volunteered not only in the church, but every day in his life, living life on mission. So I'd like to welcome Keith Wallace.
Hello, hello, Amy.
Thank you so much. And I'm just so blessed to have you as a friend. So I'm just so lucky. I feel so grateful.
Same here. I saw your first blog. I was blushing when you sent me it. It was really, you never know what impact you have on somebody until they share it, you know. So I feel blessed to have you in my life and have met you.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. So Keith and I met through church many, many years ago. It feels like so
Mm-hmm.
long ago at this point.
Yeah.
But the volunteer work you were doing to help people with disabilities, well, but for kids and teens specifically, at the time, uh, and then also then you led two mission trips to Kenya that I was like grateful enough and blessed enough to go on. So that
Yeah.
was absolutely life changing for me
Yeah.
to go with you.
Yeah, it was a good time. I really enjoyed my time. I think I've been to Africa 5 times now or six for working with people with disabilities. So we went with Parkview, and the first time we went, it was a part of the Cannonball series where they were looking for 100 people to go. I was one of those, so it was the first time leading a group of people to a foreign place that I didn't know. So but God had good plans for us and big plans there, and He's still working there when we leave. So, and you were really key to the next time we went because we're like, we need somebody that does music. So it brought just that
Awesome.
more to the mission trips and the things that we were doing.
Absolutely. Yes. And I just feel like not only, like doing your mission work afar, but just day by day, you're just an example of how to live life on mission. So I just thought maybe I could just ask you, like, you know, this interview series is about making an impact. So what does it mean for you to live life on mission, like in your everyday life?
Yeah, I believe we're here for a purpose. God put us on this earth to serve others, and if you have a servant's heart and you're in the right position and you're doing what you love, it kind of comes naturally. So that way, like when you said the intro, don't I don't see my work as work. It is my calling. So I'll never work a day in my life because, this is my calling. I'm doing what I was put on this earth to do. So everything I do, as in I'm leaving this afternoon to do a wheelchair basketball clinic for another SRA or another agency. And it's not for me. Yes, I would like to see if we can get some more athletes, but we're changing lives when they meet me or they meet my staff and we can give them, it's like if we can give them the good word that they didn't know about, and it changes their life, and it changes, from them, for some of those individuals being on government assistance to getting a job and paying into it, it's a little different. So like we changed this whole trajectory of people's life with one meeting, and it's because I see more in people with disabilities than most people see, and that's where I am. It's not just a job; it's more of a lifestyle.
Yes, absolutely. It's your whole life, and how
Mhm.
you live. And I love your stories because it seems like everywhere you go, it's like you're like the super connector. I love that. Like you're just like God put you in places at the right time to
Yeah,
meet, people cross your paths and it's like no accident. And I know you don't think it's like just an accident that people cross your paths that may have a disability, or maybe they're an amputee, or maybe
Yeah.
they've never heard of adapted sports or anything,
Mhm.
and you're able to just like, you
Yeah,
know,
connect them. And I think that, I tell my story of people ask me, well, how did I get in this field and how did I do that? And I often tell the story of, it was my grandmother was a single leg amputee and she died when I was young. So I didn't even know what I was going to be. She died when I was in, I think it was a freshman. Yeah, but I didn't know what I wanted to be. But I think she's in heaven, always putting me in the right places at the right time, and that is very key because that I think there's no coincidence when I go places. When I, like there's some places that I wasn't supposed to be, and then I meet somebody that I, wasn't supposed to meet. It happens all the time, and too often, and I don't think it's a coincidence. I think it's my grandmother in heaven, just leading me in the right direction to help people. So
oh, I just like got the goosebumps. Like that's so special. I do agree that we have guardian angels and our family that loves us, looking down on us and helping us. So that's so awesome. And I just, yeah, I just feel like, not only I kind of want to highlight, that it's not only us that we go out there and we can help people. Like anybody can just be available. Just make yourself available for God to work through you and to use you, and just to have the heart for service, like you started
Mhm.
with. Just have a heart of serving others and helping others live their best lives, lifting them up, building confidence in them, and really just helping them live their purpose. And
Yeah, I really think that deep down, everybody wants to serve and everybody has a need to serve, but they just don't know how. I heard a stat the other day, 5% of the population really is the ones that are serving. And that's pretty sad if 5% of the population is have the servant heart or willing to give. I think people just need the opportunity. It needs to fit in line with what they want to do. But given the opportunity, I think people will serve and they will do things. But I
so
think
how did you start off? Like how did you start off? Because I know for me, like when I became like, gave my life to Jesus and God said like, okay, God, just use me. I'm available. Like I don't know where to start. It was kind of unexpected. It was kind of like I volunteered in the nursery at church first, which
mhm.
was but they had a need and I just like jumped in and said, okay, I'll start there. And then God kind of like changed it. But how was it for you? Where did you start?
Well, I know like when I was, because I work so much. So when I first got out of college, I worked at an agency and I was like, ooh, I really, really love this. This is nice. But it wasn't until I went to the Rehabilitation Institute of Chicago, which is now the Shirley Ability Lab downtown, that I found my niche. So knew I wanted to work with people with disabilities, but I found my niche. And how does that niche develop in me? And that is kind of where it's led me. It led me to, I was a sports guy, so can coach these guys at a higher level and get them in. And I just, I start pouring things into it, and it was receptive. And that's the big thing. People were receptive to some of the things that I was pouring into, and that's not by choice, that's by design. So my grandmother put me in the right places. So after being there, I know I wanted to come home, come back to the South Side and develop what I saw in the North Side and what I saw downtown in Chicago. And I wanted to just develop professionally. But there was a lot of things that were fighting. And it wasn't until I started going to church more that things started to open up more, when I started to give more of my time. A lot of people don't know, like you could be financially, you can give financially or you can give your time. And time is what I had because I was trying to build a family and do things. So I just gave my time and poured into the mission work and poured into that, and other things started to open up for me. When I started to get my voice as an executive director here, I was no longer, and it goes into with some of the diversity things. Before, early in my career, I had to work, and I wouldn't, you don't want to ruffle any feathers when you have to work to make a living. Now I'm an executive director. I've earned my right to make some choices and do some things that I want to do, not that I have to do. So some of those things really helped me as a professional in my faith of being able to maneuver and do things and create the spaces and create for people. And I've had, the wonderful organization I work for. They're very supportive because it's really everything I do here, the organization benefits tremendously. So like, it's not I'm doing my own thing. It's, when I'm the coach of the USA team, it's LWSRA's coach of the, when I'm speaking, when I'm doing things, those things are beneficial to the community and beneficial to others that we serve. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. I feel like it's such an inspiration to others because, I hear your story of, you started off by realizing, if I'm going to be serving and I'm going to be giving, that's how it's going to start, where, that's the kind of heart you need to have. But in this modern day times, like in this society, it tells us the opposite, that we need to just have people serving us, that, that's how we're going to make it, to just have all the things. But, it's kind of like having that opposite mindset of, okay, I'm going to start off in service to others, and then it's going to be kind of like a harvest, like an abundant blessing that comes back to you in a sense. And then, it's not just, going to happen. You had to work hard for it for years and years, but then God is working on you in that season. God is definitely working on you and then molding you into the person that you are today, where now you're in the position of, making a huge impact in leadership. And then being able to, have God just really work through you in a more, more powerful sense to make a bigger impact. So it's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So, and I also heard you kind of talk about, what it means to have your own passions, like these passions that, God has designed us all uniquely for a purpose. So he's placed these dreams in our hearts. He's placed these passions within us, and he made us. And so then how it's important then to kind of pursue your passions and to follow those dreams. And I think it's so awesome. I actually had to look back exactly at the words of wisdom that you gave me, because when it comes to, following my dreams that God placed in my heart early on, it's kind of scary. It's not easy. And so you need support. So I reached out to Keith and I reached out to others from our church, and I was like, hey, this is what is God's placed in my heart. It's kind of crazy dream, but could you just pray for me? Ask him for prayer support. And Keith was so awesome. He said some great advice. He was super supportive. He said this advice. He said, just keep working at it and don't let the noise get louder than the dream. So
wow, I can't remember I said that, but I do. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was, especially at the time, because when you step out in faith, you could probably be pretty confident that you're going to have that opposition against you, and it's not going to be easy. Those forces that are in this world, they don't necessarily, it's hard to make a positive impact, a positive difference. There's so much that can come against you. And so it's not always easy. There's a lot of chatter. There's a lot of people judging you and talking negatively. So it's so key to have people like to support you. And
that is true. Like, leaders always have somebody that's going to always say something. And if you're stepping out on faith and doing some good things, that means you're doing something right. If people are talking about you either kind of way, that means, hey, you're doing something right, and that they're talking about you. So I did have one of my mentors. He's really funny. It's actually, he's in the story. It's funny because my grandmother puts us in right spaces, but I met him at Target. His wife was pulling this big old wheelchair out of a car. And I was like, ooh, whoever that is, I need him on my team. So I went up to him and I give him my card. And, 2 years later, he comes, I was sitting at Lincoln Way Central and I get a call and he's like, do you remember me? I was like, yeah, I remember you, the big guy in the chair from Target. He's like, man, my wife was going to like mace you, this big black guy coming out. He was like, I don't know. And I was like, and we tell that story. It's fun. But he actually came to one practice and he said, he's an older gentleman. He said, I want to play tennis and I want to do basketball and I will do anything he wanted to do. I gave him the the contact, and he's a really big guy. So one of the organizations he went to, they told him, they were like, Keith is this bad guy. You shouldn't touch Keith and everything. And he left there and he said, you know what? They talk so bad about you. that I want to be where you are because you're doing something right. If that's all they said for an hour, that you need to come play with us because he's this. So, that's the chatter that's out there, and there'll always be somebody to oppose you.
Yeah.
The world we stay in, with all of the racial divide, the political divide, it's hard to just be on one side of the fence or the other side because there's going to be a loud voice on either side. And you just got to stay your course and, have faith that the that God is going to take care of you and, and do right by you. And there may be some bumps and bruises on the way, but that's just something I've always lived by. I kind of stay in my lane and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because I was going to ask if you had any words of wisdom or like words of encouragement for others, too, they're focused on following their dreams, and it might be early on in the process when it's tough. So I love that. Stay your
Yeah.
course, like, stay in your lane, and just, just
Yeah.
put the blinders on. Don't just drown
Mhm.
out the negative and just kind of focus and keep your eyes on the prize. And
But sometimes the negative is it helps you, it helps motivate you. I don't love it, but when people tell me that I'm going to fail at something, that makes me work 10 times harder to prove them wrong. So, sometimes you need that to drive you to be successful. So, it just depends on how you are and what moment and phase in life you are and when you get something. But don't let anybody, I always say too, don't let anybody steal your joy. Your joy is really something that's really powerful, and it's not there for somebody else to take. So yes, that something. Yeah.
that's funny. I just saw someone just posted that same quote, "Don't let anyone steal your joy," like this morning or yesterday. So it must be something I need to hear.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, but I just love, talking about like making an impact because I'm hearing you say, I mean, you have literally traveled the world, Keith,
Hmm.
like doing work, and whether it's through adapted sports and competitions, like, you know, literally you've been to Japan, you've
Yeah.
been everywhere. And then we went to Kenya twice. And not only was it, a mission trip helping the people in the Mathari Valley, um, but it was specialized in helping the people with disabilities
Yeah.
that, needed the most help in that area. And Keith comes in with all the equipment, and we do the Special Olympics, and we're celebrating them and making them certificates, and just it was just so beautiful, But not only are you literally globally living life on mission, but day by day for that gentleman that you talked about, day by day, if you could just inspire one person, if someone's listening to this and they might not think that they can travel the world necessarily, if you could just inspire one person a day, I think that's so awesome to make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I tell my staff all the time, like we do these clinics and we do everything. If we touch one person, and it was worth it. You think about it, like we can spend all this money on these things, but if we get 30, that's fantastic. But if we change one person's life, that's the impact. That's the moment that we want to benefit from. That's what we want, not to benefit, but that's one thing that we want to hang our hat on, something that we want to take pride in, that we were able to change the trajectory of this person's life by a meeting. And that can happen all over. So yeah, traveling the world, I enjoy doing that. USA softball, I'm the coach of that. I've a lot of committees now, so it's I'm the president of my Rotary Club. I'm the commissioner of wheelchair softball. So there's a lot of things that I'm doing that's helping others through service. Now, I was usually anti-committee, but I'm figuring out the president. If you're the president, you can delegate, and that's better than being like the secretary and things like that, because you could delegate, and yeah, you just run the meeting.
Yeah. I think I saw 100 Men Who Care. What is I try to
Yes.
take in 100
Yeah.
Brothers Who Care too,
Yeah.
like philanthropy almost. You're
Yeah.
supporting missions all together and
Mhm.
really for mission or kind of like causes that you care about.
Yeah. And 100 Brothers Who Care is, I would like to say I came up with that idea. However, there's groups all over called the 100 Women of Will County, and they do a lot of 100 Women of Will County, 100 Women Who Care. There's a lot of these groups, but the concept of it, I was like, was phenomenal. So I kind of borrowed it, but I wanted to do something in the beginning. I wanted to do something for, African American charities in that I grew up in, and it was around the around town that I grew up. I wanted to do that, but at the beginning of it, it was really hard because I was just getting my friends, and it wasn't picking up any traction because I wanted African American men. I wanted, I had a lot of specific things that I want, and then God was pulling, he was pulling, and I was just like, no, this is what I want, but it was not going well. And then I just took a break for a year. And then when I brought it back, because some of my friends from church was like, hey, I'm a brother. and I just made it brothers in Christ. So, you don't have to be a believer to be in it, but it is what we do. We're going to open the meeting with prayer, and it's very simple concept that we need 100 men to give $100 4 times a year. We meet 4 times a year. Our next meeting is on the 22nd of March. And we want you to give $100. You're not giving it to me. Everybody brings a charity of their choice, and we put on a spreadsheet all the charities in your name. We pick them randomly. Three people get to select, and you have 3 to 5 minutes if you're there to pitch your charity that you want. And then at the end of the third charity, we vote. We open up a poll. I do it on Zoom, 1, 2, and 3. It's all on Zoom, so it's people from everywhere. 1, 2, and 3. And then everybody votes on the charity that they want to win. If there's ties, we split the money. If there's not, we give the money to one charity. And then we do that 4 times a year. So our last one, we gave $55,600. So the goal is to get 100, so we can get 10,000. And it's very simple. You have 24 hours once that voting is over to send the charity the money. You don't send it to me. I'm not holding anything. Charity the money, and then the charity is responsible for sending you the tax information and all of that. And then we're done. And then we move on to the next meet. So it's about fellowshipping, meeting other men that want to give. Like I said before, people want to give, they just don't know how to give. And this is a way to pull our resources to make an impact on those smaller charities that if we give $10,000, this could be their whole budget for the whole year. It could be a huge blessing. And just think about how much we spend $100. We'll go to dinner and spend $100. Some people go to the bar or go wherever. They spend $100 just like that. If we pull 100 people to give 100 and make $10,000 to give to somebody, boom, that's the greatest feeling in the world.
Wow. Yeah, that's a perfect example of making an impact. So it's
Yeah.
awesome. And we can also, it's up to you. We could always link anything that you'd like, if you're looking for new members or anything, we could link it in the blog post too, or, just to highlight any nonprofits or causes that you'd like too. So
it's a private group on Facebook, so it's all men. I had a couple ladies want to join, and I sent them to 100 women who care.
Okay.
It's all men. You can send your husband, you can send everybody. I could, and the thing is, I do so much service, and my friends, 2 of my friends my best friends are out of town, and my one friend here, we don't get to see each other. So that's kind of like our, once every 3 months, we really get on Zoom and really just see each other. But I don't have a lot of male friends in my area that's my age so it's just a way for us to network that way too. So I need some more friends. So if you're out there and you want to come hang out with me, I golf. I don't walks on the beach.
Nice. That's awesome. Cool. All right. Well, I have one more note. I'm just looking at my notes, but I just want to maybe wrap up by just highlighting how you're a super connector. I think that's super cool. And just share really quick a story about how Keith helped me personally and how he's a super connector to for real. So, like years and years ago, and I shared this on the blog, and this is a blog I sent to Keith. I was like, just in case, you want to know like what, the impact you're making and like how you're, helping you. And he said he didn't even really know that he made that big of a difference. But so years ago, I went through kind of like a tough season, it was like one of the hardest times in my life. And I was still going to church, like still serving, and Keith was still running a volunteer group that I was volunteering at. And he kind of knew what was going on, and I kind of shared my struggles. And he was like, "All right, no problem." Like, he's like, "I got a guy. You need to work. You need a job. No problem. I got a guy for that." He's like, "Here's my friend. Call John. He's looking for someone. He'll connect you with a part-time job." And he's like, "Wait." Keith is like, "Wait a minute. You need a used car? No problem. I got a guy." Like, I got a guy, like totally super connector. Like, I don't know how you know everyone, but you're like, "I got a guy for that." And so sure enough, I went to this, like, it's hard to find a trustworthy car salesman sometimes, you never know. So went to that guy, and sure enough, bought the car that I'm still driving today. That was
Mhm.
like years and years ago. So it was a great car. It wasn't a lemon or anything like that. So, I mean, really, like to know, like, you don't really know what I was going through, but it was a really tough time. And just that encouragement, just that support and that connecting, you're connecting me with people like meant the world. So thank you so much.
No problem. I love doing it. I call myself often the super connector. I think I bought a book called Super, read it yet, but it's just, God puts people in your life for moments, like, and you learn something from each person. So John, yes, John helped me out because when I was a new professional, I wasn't making a lot of money. I was living in Northbrook. So John was like there. He gave me a job. I was working. I was doing some things on the side to make ends meet so I can, start my career. But that was, and John and I are still friends. The way I met the car dealer was God too. I was I was volunteering at the BMW Classic, and that's a golf event. And I did not want to work. I was in the air conditioning in wheel call, meeting famous people that were coming in. They needed one person to go outside and stand and direct people where to go. And everybody was like, no. And I was like, all right, fine, I'll go. And I was out there probably 5 minutes, and this tall guy and his son in a wheelchair rolls into my life. So happened to be that player is now at U of I playing college basketball. He was in 8th grade, he was like 6th grade when he started. But he, just acquired his injury probably a year before, and he was coming to the golf with his dad. And that's how that relationship blossomed, because he played wheelchair basketball for me for years. And he owns 2 car dealerships, which, I get all my cars from there because he's trustworthy. I know him. I know he's not going to sell anybody I know some bad stuff, because they'll be calling me and be like, what happened? So it's just really, God puts people in the right places for the right seasons when you need them. And I got a lot of people in this mind and in my Rolodex that I know that when somebody needs something, I can just say, okay, I have someone for that. Or I can help you with that, and try to connect people. So I really love it. I love when that happens. So it's good to
Yeah. Yes. And it's just the importance of connection, and just how, God uses people in our lives and relationships, just the importance of relationships for sure. And
yeah.
so, all right. Well, that's about it. Thank you so
That's
much,
it.
Keith,
That
for
was
joining
seamless.
us.
That was awesome. I appreciate it. Thank
Thank you.
you.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. I'm glad
So
you're
good
doing
to see
well.
you.
Good to see you too.